Hiya guys, Mark here tonight on Mark's Matchbox Memories. Tonight we're going to be doing something a little bit different. It's going to be about this guy, Jack Odell. For those of you who don't know, Jack Odell, or John William Odell OBE, knighted, was the inventor and one of the founding partners of Matchbox. Now what you don't know is he wasn't just a Matchbox toy designer. He was initially a designer for the molds and the creatings of earlier cars such as door handles, dashboard ornaments, dash motors, etc. He was a car designer in his own right. When he stumbled upon the idea of making miniature cars, Jack Odell and his team excelled, laying foundations for companies today such as Hot Wheels. Indeed, if it wasn't for Jack, none of it would exist. What we're going to look at though is not his millions literally of achievements, with Matchbox selling over 1 million products each year through his entirety. When Jack initially retired in 73, he returned in 81 to help Matchbox, which he was a founder in. Now one of the things we're going to look at is the events around that time. For example, Matchbox Leslie Products PLC sold to Matchbox International in June or July of 1982. Now it's interesting, if you know your stuff, Matchbox International was branding products from 1980. They had some inkling that something was going to happen before things went belly up. So with products no longer being made in England from 1980 onwards, actually early in that 79 from China, Matchbox International was already setting footplates ready under international toys. So with the toys overseas, such as in the Philippines and India, etc., being produced by Universal Toys under franchise from Matchbox, the footings was already in place for the takeover or buying out. And it was quite strange really at the time. I thought that all the toolings went straight overseas and Matchbox production continued. In the meantime, Jack Odell immediately started up at Lido using the original Matchbox toolings. Original. So this is where it gets kind of interesting, where I believe today that right up to his untimely demise, in my opinion, take my hat off to him, the production coming from out of Lido was actually Matchbox and not from overseas, and let me explain why. A lot of the brands today from Britain have now gone overseas, such as MG Cars, Rover, LDV, Rolls-Royce, BMW, Bentley, etc. They're all now owned by overseas companies, although they might still be produced in the UK, such as Rolls-Royce and Bentley. All the parts are coming in from the parent companies, meaning they no longer, the heart of the car is no longer original, but at least they're still made in the same country and manufacture to give it that English-esque feel to it from a Rolls-Royce or a Bentley. Whereas the likes of Land Rover now are built in China, Poland, Chechnya, Kyrgyzstan, Bombay. Think of a country and you can chuck a Land Rover in it. India, the parent company Tata, are now building them everywhere. The heart of the beast has gone. This is where it gets tricky. You see, MG sports cars today, although the parent company is SAIC in China, owned by the Chinese government, the headquarters are in the UK, the designers was in the UK until recently, so the likes of the MG3 and MG6 was still made at the Longbridge factory, even though all the money was going straight out overseas. That's all changed recently, with production being shut down altogether in the UK, with only a small design office there to keep their foot in the market, to say that they're a British icon, but they're not really. And the same had happened with Matchbox. In 1982, Matchbox had already started setting up factories around the world, apart from the Lesney factory in England. The last of the British designs had already been put into mould. So as the likes of TP26 was the last total British design with the Leyland cab. It was only produced for around about 3 months. This was going to be part of the convoy range, and this was a critical choice, along with the Peterbilt as well. This set here, the trailer etc. would go on for another 20 years into Mattel hands. And this is why it's a vital part of the story. Something so insignificant as the convoy range, or the 900 series as it was initially known, I believe there was other things happening behind the scenes. Because in the 1981-82 catalogue, nearly all the English products was dropped. The 1982 catalogue was almost fully American cars. So in the twilight months of 1981, Leslie designed a complete new range under Jack O'Dell, because Jack O'Dell had come back. He'd retired and come back to save Matchbox towards the end of 1981, and they come up with a complete new range, dropping the 900 series and coming out with the convoy range. Again, it was virtually a completely American design range of toys. It was designed at the American market. There was no Filipino trucks or cars in it. There was no German cars or trucks in there. Maybe the odd one or two Mercedes that was sold in America, but the set was entirely targeted at the American market. Now at the time, Mattel was showing interest in Matchbox, but I believe there was something happening around 82 at the time of the Falklands War, etc. And there was a lot of things going on behind doors, manufacturing, etc. that prevented the deal happening. So Matchbox International, Universal Toys, a holding company, where does the money come from? A holding company is held in offshore accounts, and you never actually know who really owns the company. It could have been Mattel all along. If you remember, Mattel had got in hot water with Hot Wheels before, but doctoring their figures by pretending they were selling more than they actually was. So the company goes bust, Lesney PLC, and it goes to International Toys, or whatever the hell it was at the time, which in turn then becomes Tyco. So all the designs, all the blueprints, everything comes out. New trucks as well, such as this Scania, beautiful designs, and it was all just in time for the Hot Wheels takeover or merger. Matchbox did not vanish. The original factories were still there in Asia, still producing toys for Mattel, as they still do today. You can change the name on the door, but what it is still stays the same. If you got a Ford factory, take the Ford badge off it and put a Volkswagen badge on the factory, the locals will still call it the Ford factory I work at. It was still producing Fords with a Volkswagen badge. They would still call it a Ford Mustang. They wouldn't say, oh, a Volkswagen Mustang there with a Ford Mustang V8 in it. It still is what it is. You can change the identity, but the essence remains the same. And Jack O'Dell believed this, and he knew this. He knew what would sell. So with all the new production equipment for the convoy range, etc., with what was later branded as the Mattel wheels, although we know they was designed by Jack O'Dell, all went out to Asia, and the deal was then struck to sell the new Matchbox products, I emphasize that, the new Matchbox products to Mattel. And this is where Jack was super intelligent. He didn't just sell Matchbox once, he sold it 3 times. He was smart. Smarter than anybody else in the industry today. Because when the company went bust and all the tooling was bought and sold to what became eventually Tyco, the money from it, Jack bought back all the original tooling. Here's a little bit of proof here. We have the cab from one of the semi rigs from the 1960s. Here is a 2000 Lido. Look at the wheels, etc. They're all exactly the same. We're going to look at this in small detail on the cameras shortly. I'll bring it up. and you can see the comparison. We know he actually used the original tooling. So it's done by the original designer, it's done on the original tooling, it's done from the original country, it's done with the original materials, it's done with the original craftsman who done the molds, it's done with the same production crew. Then it's the same car, it's the same company. It doesn't matter if you move next door or 2 doors down. If Ford took all their staff 10 yards down the road and set up a new company tomorrow, Mercury, which is what they did do, then it is still a Ford. It always says Mercury outside the door, it's still a Ford. They did the same trick with Jaguar and Volvo. They bought the companies, and Mazda took the ideas, stuck a Ford badge on it, the Focus, but it was still a Mazda underneath. And this is the same thing here today. Although Lido Odell was slapped on the front door of the factory, it was still the Matchbox factory. So how did Jack sell the company 3 times then? And this is Marco's standing genius. When he returned to the company in the early 80s after retirement in the 70s, he had the good sense and knowledge to license the designs overseas to Asian companies. The cost of branding things in the UK production line, using foreign italics, lettering, printing costs, shipping, storage, transportation on the other side of the world was prohibitively expensive. So by licensing the product to overseas manufacturers, they could target the product at those distinct areas, saving Matchbox millions in the process and getting a foot in the door overseas. The second thing he done then was organise the takeover by Matchbox International and the forming of the new identity and brand of Matchbox International. In 1983, Matchbox International was still making cars at the Matchbox Lesney factory. In the meantime, all the tooling which he had sold to Matchbox International, which they believed they didn't need, all the tooling from the 1960s and 70s, Jack had the good common sense to buy it back. In the meantime then, he set up the Lido brand and started producing new miniature cars using original Matchbox tooling, Matchbox designs, all under the new name Odell. Matchbox could have just been called Odell and rebranded itself and kick-started. But now he had 2 companies going. He had the licensing deals, he had the sellout deals, and now he had Lido itself, which went on to be sold a 3rd time again then, the original tooling, etc. So this is how we sold Matchbox 3 times, to CORGI Toys. That tooling now was taken back out to Asia to produce again. So the tooling had gone from UK to Asia, back to UK, back to Asia. And all his designs had come under Matchbox, Matchbox International, CORGI Toys, Lido, and all the other sub-brands that go with it, which was never even advertised as Matchbox, but under different names. Hot Wheels done the same thing. In Spain, etc., it was called, I think, Mag Wheels or something like this, but it was a totally different name, but the same style packaging. So we're going to have a look at now, on the turntable, what I call the changeover years, where the original tooling was reused 30 years after being retired, such as the likes on the Interstate and the Mammoth range from Lido. And you can see that it was the same molds which was used, or same production equipment, because the resemblance is identical. So here we are then with one of Jack's original miniatures. Jack was an astute businessman and he didn't throw away nothing. Proof of this was back in the early 2000s, 2010s I believe it was, where Matchbox Mattel released the original series like this on a reproduction from the original molds. The only difference being between the modern reproduction and the earlier ones, on this one the wheels are actually cast, and it says on the bottom by Lesney, totally indistinguishable from the new reproductions made by China through Mattel. And these ones were one of Jack's first designs, along with a cement mixer and road roller, etc. Now Jack didn't stay on there, they continued on straight away with the likes of the Bedford lorry, or is it a Thames, I think? No, it actually might be a Bedford, but this original as well. showed the skill and quality of Jack's original design. I'm only including it here just as people can see the genius of Jack's design work, how refined he could work, even the coach lines of the door handles, etc. included. But this isn't what we're looking at. What we're actually going to be looking at is some of his later designs. Just got another quick one here we're going to whip out for you to have a look at. This is number 15, which I haven't done a video on, but I might, I don't know. Like I said, you see the detail of his work, the ultra-fine grilling on the hood and the radiator, the cast torque on the back for the trailer, etc. The winch assembly down inside. His attention to detail was meticulous. So this is the era now of the moulds that we're actually interested in, which Jack reused with his Lido brand company, or Odell, if he was stood in a mirror. And you see the continuity here. So this on a dump truck from the 1960s. I'll look again then at the wheels, etc. Say one of the wheels was Jack's giveaways. He loved his style of wheel, so pay particular attention to the type of wheels that's on there. Again, this is a different mould on the interstate freighter. This was again a different mould, obviously, and the wheels, etc. again are a different mould. We'll do some close-up pictures in a minute for you. And this is one of the ones from Odell, his later brand. And again, pay attention to the wheels, not the Federal Express case. And it's one of the things that carried over. It was his idea of doing the wheels, etc., which was a giveaway of his calling card, his signature. You could argue that anybody could have done the wheels on any of the trucks, but we know this not to be true. We know that Jack did take, indeed, buy back the original moulding machinery and castings and dies, etc. from Matchbox International to reform Lido. Like I said, in his style of how he used to do the wheels was his signature trait, and how he done things is how he liked things done. Even down to the castings, how he liked them done. You can see the follow on in the lorries. Incidentally, this is one we got coming up on the Wars Ice Cream number 2 Matchbox Major Pack, and also on the Bedford Tipper as well. The last chapter on Jack's journey was branded by Corgi Toys, and it was the anniversary edition, which they'd done a beautiful edition in a Matchbox, which is quite ironic considering they're not a Matchbox, in honour of Jack Odell. This beautiful 24 karat gold plated limited edition done by Corgi for Jack. We're going to look at the table now. I think this is something which should have been done by Tyco with any ounce of respect, but instead they done nothing. On this final tribute to Jack Odell then, we look at this fantastic set made by Corgi Toys using Jack's original designs, which was made from Matchbox tooling. The great man himself died in 2007. I believe it was from Parkinson's or dementia. I'll have to double check and I'm not entirely sure. But this 24 karat gold set, I believe, is something which Mattel should have got involved with at the time. Even producing maybe their own Hot Wheels special edition. Or even a Matchbox limited edition truck of one of his original designs. I think it would have been a fitting send-off and a nod to the great man that has brought them millions of dollars in profit. So here we are then, folks, Jack's final model of this 24 karat gold Ford Model T, a design by Jack himself on the Matchbox tooling, and unfortunately, I believe so, presented and sold by CORGI. It really would have been fitting to have been the duty of Matchbox to honour its founder, something which they failed with utmost triumphantness. I'm going to leave you now to look at this beauty and enjoy her.